Our first company for today's webinar is Lithium Universe, ASX code LU7. The company is on a mission to supply the critical materials for batteries that will help the transition into a cleaner energy sources. Presenting for the company today is CEO Alex Hanley. Alex, welcome back. Please take it away.
One of the biggest challenges facing the North American battery supply chain is something that we call the lithium conversion gap. The conversion gap itself is a very simple supply and demand thesis. From a supply perspective, on one side of the cliff, there's a huge resource up and coming within the James Bay region in Quebec. What we've estimated about 500 million tonnes at plus 1% across 8 or 9 distinct projects. There's also a huge transatlantic feedstock coming online throughout Brazil, West Africa, and also Southern Africa. So huge supply. From a demand perspective, it's very much a similar story. The demand that the Department of Energy has called upon is about 1,000 gigawatts going to come online by 2028, so just 4 years away. This equates, from a lithium perspective, to around 850,000 tonne per annum of lithium chemicals required to feed into these facilities. Huge demand. Now, currently, if there's any spodumene that's mined in Canada all throughout the transatlantic, it's having to go through to China, who currently dominate the conversion capacity in the world with about 95% of the world's conversion capacity. Then it needs to make its way all the way back into the battery supply chain in North America. Obviously a huge freight cost, also imposed tariffs, a security risk, and also a carbon footprint issue. Now, from a security perspective, we've seen a lot of interesting things in legislation over the last 3 years. There's been the Canadian government mandating for Chinese investors to divest from Canadian exploration companies and critical key minerals as well within the Canadian environment. This, in addition to huge tariffs now put on the Canadian or Chinese sourced spodumene and lithium chemicals, provides a very interesting tailwind for this company. So by and large, this is the lithium conversion gap because there's only about 100,000 tonnes coming online in 2028 for lithium conversion, and there's actually no current lithium converters in North America. Introducing Lithium Universe Limited, committed to closing this conversion gap in North America. Now, what's the issue? What are the problems with filling this gap? The reality is it's a very complex chemical process, one that's been hard to recreate outside of China. Now, even with existing producers, it's taking years to ramp up. So that's why it comes down to 2 things: proven technology and experienced operators. When it comes down to what we've seen within the larger environment throughout Australia and Canada, Tianji Kiwanana hydroxide plant provides a very good picture. There's huge issues with this plant. It's 5 years in total schedule. It's about 100% over schedule, 100% over budget. Now, similar things with Albemarle Kemerton, with the hydroxide plant. It's taking 5 years, 18 months of commissioning, and they're now having to fly in Chinese operators to fix the plant. And the same story in Canada. North America Lithium produced a touch over 100 tonne of lithium carbonate back in 2014 and has since been mothballed. Similar, Nemaska Lithium has been plagued with design flaws, major schedule and cost overruns, now obviously hitting straps with Nemaska too. So why have these projects failed? Well, it's a lack of true operational direction at design stage, embedding all of that true operational maintenance and commissioning experience, not when the plant is built, but actually within the preliminary and detailed design. That's why our dream team are operators. And one of those operators, and our chairman is Iggy Tan. Iggy Tan started his time back in 1995, having commissioned the lithium carbonate plant for Greenbushes. Iggy then went on to spearhead Galaxy Resources as managing director, building the first mine-to-refinery, large-scale integrated operation, including the Mount Cattlin spodumene mine in WA and the Jiangsu lithium carbonate plant in China. We've also got Greenbushes veteran Pat Scallon on board. Pat he ran Greenbushes for 25 years. He took that plant from 200,000 tonne per annum to about 1.4 million tonne per annum. This is a guy that knows every step of the value chain within the lithium and spodumene industry. We've also got Dr. Jinglan Liu. Dr. Liu is considered to be a downstream expert, whether that be hydroxide or carbonate. He obviously built the Jiangsu plant with Iggy Tan, but also has had a leading hand in over 20 different operations for conversion across Asia, North America, and Europe. These gentlemen, coupled with the rest of our team, are the Lithium Dream Team. We've got Terry Stark, former GM of operations for Galaxy, responsible for the Sal de Vida operation and the Mount Cattlin operation. Roger Pova, who's an operational specialist, having run both the Mount Cattlin spodumene and the Greenbushes operations. John Loxton, ex-Hatch Limited, who built the Jiangsu plant in China with Iggy and Jinglan. And finally, John Sobleski, who financed it as CFO of Galaxy. So when it comes down to track record, the perfect example for us is Jiangsu lithium carbonate plant. This plant didn't take 5 years and 18 months of commissioning. The whole plant was built in 2 years, including 6 months of wet commissioning. The Jiangsu plant itself, it's a Western-style plant designed to international and Australian standards. This project is semi-autonomous, fully continuous, and has since been the benchmark for process technology and process control ever since it was built. When it was built, it actually doubled the whole conversion capacity of lithium carbonate in China at the time. That's how early on Iggy, Jinglan, and John Loxton built this plant. So what we're doing to close the gap in North America is we're building the Bécancour lithium refinery. The lithium refinery at Bécancour is going to be a copy-paste from the Jiangsu design. There's going to be no changes to the process. It's going to be the same flow sheet, same equipment, and a lot of the same suppliers to reduce any technical risk. It's going to be located in Bécancour, which is right in between Montreal and Quebec City. And most notably, we're just upgrading it to a provincial standard and winterizing it for the Quebec environment. We've partnered with Hatch Limited, who don't generally need an introduction. They've got a lot of experience operating not only in Australia, but in Canada, having built projects. Obviously, they built the Jiangsu plant with Iggy and Jinglan, but also have had a leading hand throughout other refinery projects throughout Canada and also Australia. Now, in terms of the flow sheet, it's the conventional flow sheet that we know works. We know this. We know how to commission this project. We know how to operate this project. We have all the operational experience with that embedded within the team. So our philosophy is not to change anything. As you can see here, it goes through a simple calciner at the front end through to sulfation, then impurity removal before dropping out sodium sulfate as a product, before going on to the purification step at the back end, providing a clean battery-grade lithium carbonate at the back end. Now, in terms of layout, having to winterize this plant is just meaning that we're having to put it in one building quite simply. The areas, the designed areas from Jiangsu are exactly the same. Just how it actually feeds in throughout the layout is shown here in a figure-8 formation, going through the calcination, sulfation, impurity removal before product warehousing. Now, one of the big questions we always get is why carbonate versus hydroxide, with obviously a big, strong push towards hydroxide over the last couple of years. Well, for us, there's two reasons. One is that we've already got a design and an operational skill set tailored towards lithium carbonate. But the second one is we actually see a very strong push towards lithium carbonate. The reason being is because of LFP, or lithium iron phosphate batteries. Lithium carbonate is the preferred precursor element for LFP batteries. And in China last year, we saw that just under 70% of all EV installations were LFP, and Fast Markets have forecast that by 2033, about 87% of all energy storage systems are going to have LFP batteries. So a very strong push towards LFP over the near and medium term. So the project itself, as I said, is between Montreal and Quebec City. It's at the industrial estate at Bécancour. The reason why we like it, obviously, railway, highway, but also port facility. And why that's important is, if we're needing to bring in transatlantic supply from other countries, whether that be Africa, Brazil, or even Australia, we can come via the Atlantic, via the St. Lawrence, straight into the port of Bécancour at 30,000 tonne shipments. The beauty of where we're situated is not only the logistics, but also the hydroelectricity. The layout, as you can see here, is taking into account all operational and maintenance considerations based on our proven expertise into one footprint that we can essentially geographically replicate, not only in Canada, but other parts of the world. The block that we have at Bécancour, we have an option as of the start of this year, has the capacity for 48,000 tonne per annum, so 3 independent trains. Where we are doing our test work, we're looking to display to all of our key stakeholders and potential partners that we can process any type of spodumene. So we've sourced spodumene from Australia, Africa, Brazil, and Canada, some of the most impurity-rich spodumene we could find, and putting it through our process facility, doing the same conventional process. And what we're getting is above battery grade on first pass, with all of the 4 tests that we've done at 99.6% or higher. Now, where this sort of fits into the big picture for the business model is it's a very simple conversion business model. Gone are the days where offtake can be secured directly. We're seeing this shift towards all the OEMs now going all the way upstream to secure the raw materials. So we see us being part of a broader supply chain of that, including LG, Ford, and potentially Tesla. Now, this is a take or pay conversion model, and all we're looking to do is really pay back the refinery and then obviously replicate this geographically. Now, the reason why we can make this happen is due to the very green, cheap hydroelectricity in Quebec. As you can see here, 2.6 cents per kilowatt hour. This is about 5 times less than what you would see in competing jurisdictions, and really provides a lot of an operational advantage for making Quebec really the lithium conversion centre of the transatlantic region. So what we've done on ground so far since we've signed the option, we've obviously submitted our application for the energy block with Hydro-Quebec. We've completed a suite of environmental surveys on the block, and recently teamed up with the First Nation group, who are very well known and very familiar with the battery industry, having worked in Bécancour for so long. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the Lithium Dream Team with a proven track record of doing this before. We've got proven technology replicating an existing and conventional design, which we know works. And finally, we've placed ourselves in Bécancour, Quebec, to really sort of bolster the region and provide the conversion centre for the whole transatlantic. Thanks for your time.
Great. Thanks for your presentation, Alex. It was very impressive with all the animations and videos. Very engaging. So I have a few questions from the audience here. So you recently announced the formation for a committee with Wabanaki. Can you explain the significance of this?
Yeah, that's right. So the Wabanaki obviously are the traditional custodians of the Bécancour and Trois-Rivières areas. They have similarly done similar partnerships with GM POSCO, Nemaska Lithium, as well as Ford Echo Pro. So they're very familiar with the battery supply chain. And what we're really looking to do here, Abby, is really form that early on, so we can work on how we can best, let's say, integrate our project into Bécancour and get the Wabanaki and the local community involved within that project.
Okay, so last month you also announced news that the company has been officially quoted on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange and the US-based OTC markets. What benefits do you see from this?
The benefits are really just surrounding greater exposure. We've been talking about the company not only in North America but also in Europe, and giving potential investors and existing shareholders that sit within Europe and North America the ability to have it on their home soil exchange. So the OTC and the Frankfurt was really a strategic decision to really open up the investor channels, so we can obviously fund the company over the course of the next two or 3 years before we go into production.
And then, so a question as well, what is the timeline for the project construction?
This question's a great one. So obviously, when we've got all this expertise, and we wouldn't want to obviously replicate exactly what Iggy and Jingwan has done previously with Jiangsu, but what we typically see within the broader industry, and I'll talk very broadly, is about 2 to 2.5 years of construction and 6 to 9 months of commissioning. So that's the sort of rough timeline that we're working towards at the moment.
And then, do you have signed offtake agreements for your lithium?
No, so we don't have offtakes yet. We've been having a lot of discussions across North America and Europe, and actually also in Australia with potential partners. Now, the big milestone for us is coming up to our feasibility study. This feasibility study will really underpin a lot of those discussions moving forward and provide published numbers that we can refer to in a lot of these discussions. So that's really the next milestone for the company, and as soon as we can get that published, then we can start having harder conversations with potential partners.
Thanks, Alex. So how will the surface water hydrology study results affect the project's development?
No foreseeable issues with any of the environmental surveys. There's no flora and fauna endangered within the broader lot 22. What we've seen, obviously, this is an existing industrial estate. So this is an old agricultural ground. It's essentially brownfield. And this has been actually, let's say, cordoned off by the government for the same purpose as what Lithium Universe and a lot of other companies within the industrial estate are doing. So, there's no real issues that we currently have on hand with the block.
And then, what were the main findings of the soil contamination desktop study, and how do they influence the project?
Obviously they've done a wide-ranging soil testing as a industrial estate. Now the findings were, let's say, not worth talking about. It's an old agricultural ground where you can actually see furrows on the ground, so it doesn't have any traditional use, and there's no real issues from an ecological perspective.
So what are the next steps after applying to Hydro-Quebec for 22.5 MW electricity?
We've obviously got the application at the moment. We're talking on a weekly basis with Investment Quebec, which obviously are the investment arm of the province itself. And where this really fits in is a lot of the broader discussions we've been having with the previous Minister Fitzgibbon. Minister Fitzgibbon was in charge of economy and energy allocation. And so the next step for us is really, again, getting the feasibility study out, getting these numbers also to Investissement Quebec and Hydro-Quebec to really talk about the broader economical value of the project being situated in the province and the benefit of the hydropower.
Okay, and then just back on the feasibility study. So what is the next milestone there? Do you have a timeline that you can give us?
I actually can't from a disclosure perspective, but we're working, and let's say things are progressing quite well. So we should see something very soon.
Great. Thanks so much for your time, Alex. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Abby.